Good evening, everybody, and welcome to my first video for this new year 2024. And we are going to be talking AFCON. I have this gentleman here with me, and we're going to be doing justice to the AFCON starting tomorrow. So, before we go into the analysis proper, I'm going to ask this question. Which team do you think have more chance to win the AFCON, and which team are you rooting for? Robbie, I'm going to start with you. You know, Nigeria, they carry Nigeria for head. So,
I'm not carrying, I'm not carrying Nigeria for head, so that is the wrong assertion. I'm not carrying Nigeria for head. Good afternoon, guys. It's good to be on the show. But I think getting into the heat of it and answering the question first and foremost, for me, for the AFCON, I think it's just a very special tournament. Looking at the fact that this is more or less Africa's Euros, if you allow me to use that word, and this is the biggest tournament on the continent, aside other little AFCON tournaments that we have, the CAF Champions League, the CAF Confederations Cup. This is one tournament that brings the best legs or the best sons of Africa, if you let me use that word, to the continent. And of course, this is where we get to celebrate not just football, but also we get to celebrate the African culture, as well as also show solidarity to each other as African countries. So for the team that most likely might walk away with the African Cup of Nations title, I would want to go with Senegal, and I also want to go with Morocco. Morocco, looking at how they performed at the last World Cup in Qatar, you would say that this is one side that has arguably one of the biggest arrays of stars in the team, and of course players who understand each other perfectly, and they have also played at the biggest stage, which is the World Cup, and they got as far as the semi-final. So the bulk of that team is still very much available, and I believe that they should be able or they should have what it takes to see them all the way to the finals, and of course possibly, all things being equal, get their hands on that trophy. For Senegal, they are the defending champions, and I saw their team today, and I cannot help but admire the kind of talent that they still have within their ranks. So the bulk of the team that won the last AFCON are still very much available. They have the expertise, they have experience on the side, and of course they have a coach who knows what he's doing, as compared to Nigeria, where we have a lot of drama going on in the country right now. So, like I said, contrary to what Blessing said, what Lidvira said, saying that I carry Nigeria for it. Well, I'm really not rooting for Nigeria. If you ask me what other team I'm rooting for, I will tell you I'm rooting for Ghana. They don't look like one of the teams that will win, but I think they might just be able to add some color, and of course add some glamour to the tournament. So that is my take as regard the two teams for me, which I believe might at the end of the day walk away with the African Cup of Nations title.
okay, so Morocco and Senegal, right? Okay. So Tochi, which team are you rooting for, and which team do you think have more chances to win?
Oh, okay. Actually, it's it's a very difficult question to answer, I must say. Considering that, we're talking about African Cup of Nations here, like this is where all the stars gather, and so it's a very difficult question to answer. But if I should just try as much as I can to like narrow it down, considering some factors like the depth of the squads that we have in a particular team, the previous performances, number one thing I'll be rooting for is Morocco. Those guys have been doing very well from the start of the World Cup. Getting to that semi-finals of the World Cup. No African team have done that before. But they were able to do that, and again, it's still the same team that played at the World Cup. They are still the same people coming again to play at the AFCON. And when you look at the individual players in that team, like each and every one of them, they are doing very, very good at their respective clubs. Okay. And so on that note, I would say that Morocco, like if I'm to give the trophy without the matches being played, which is not possible, but Morocco is the first team I would go for. Yeah. And second on my list would be I mean, no other person than the Super Eagles. Come on, guys. We're talking about the Super Eagles here.
Hey,
I don't know what you mean
Nigeria.
that what you mean that you're not rooting for the Super Eagles. I mean, you shouldn't be saying that, okay? We're talking about the Super Eagles, okay? So the second team I'm rooting for, if then if two teams can become first, I would say Super Eagles and Morocco. But the reason why I'm putting the Super Eagles maybe second is, I mean, some due to some factors that I've seen. I mean, considering their previous performances. For example, in some departments, there are so many lapses in some departments, and these departments are very crucial departments. Like, for example, in the goalkeeping. I mean, up till now, I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, who do we even say that this person is our best goalkeeper at the moment? Like
Don't
the
worry.
that
We're going to discuss that in
okay.
depth.
So
I'm going
for
to come
my
to that
for
goalkeeping
my
part.
end, is Morocco and Super Eagles.
And Super Eagles.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Uzi, the team you're rooting for and the team that has more chance to win.
Well, if you talk about the team I'll be rooting for, I'll definitely be rooting for Nigeria. There is no two ways about it. Come off it, guys. I'm a Nigerian, so, so I'm gonna root for
Robbie, now you be
Nigeria.
the black goat. I be the
No,
black sheep.
but if we
Okay.
but if we're talking about the team that I think has the greatest chances of winning, man, uh, I'm gonna be pointing out Morocco and Senegal. Morocco, the
Mm.
only reason I'm placing Morocco ahead of Senegal at the moment is that Senegal striking department where we have Jackson. Let me not go deep into that. But apart from that, I think that Senegal team is very good. It's a compact team that I see there. So this is almost the same team that has been playing for years, and we've seen what Senegal has been able to do in the past few years. Then Morocco have an array of team. Like whenever I remember that team, I remember Galatasaray Man United in the Champions League a few months ago. I remember those two goals that Ziyech scored. You know, Ziyech, no matter how much we want to doubt his abilities, but this guy keeps proving when we think he's gone. Like we know very well Ziyech is a playmaker, but when it comes to the finished product, we sometimes do not get what we want out of Ziyech. But then when Ziyech gets that spark, we know what he does. So that Morocco team, I'm rooting for I am thinking the Morocco team will go very far and the Senegal team will go very far. But when it comes to the team I'm rooting for, it's the Super Eagles. And the truth is, yes, the Super Eagles have stars. So the only thing is I don't know what's happening in the coaching department, but we have nice players in the Super Eagles team, right? And I don't like what Tochi was trying to mention about the goalkeeping department and all that. I don't think that we don't have good goalkeepers in Nigeria. The only problem is the coach have not selected the good one because we have a lot of them.
Don't worry.
So,
We'll talk
but
about Super
apart
Eagles
from
in
that,
details. We are coming to
apart
that.
from that, yeah, apart from that, the Super Eagles should go far too. That's it.
Okay. So this one, all of you are mentioning Morocco. I thought I was the only one that was farming Morocco. Now all of you have joined me to be selecting
I
Morocco.
mean, they are good.
It's
Okay,
only that
no problem. So looking
They are
at the
very
six
good.
groups now in the AFCON. Okay, looking at the six groups in the AFCON, which do you think is the toughest? Robbie, I'm coming back to you. Which group do you think is the toughest group for this AFCON?
Talking about the perfect group, I think you have to run me through the groups. I believe that there's a group that has South Africa, that has two other big countries in it. I probably might say that that is the toughest
Is
group
it Group
because for
E?
every other group,
Group E has Tunisia, Mali,
no,
South Africa, and Namibia.
yes, Yes, that is arguably the toughest group for them because every other group you look at, they are more or less straightforward. For Group A, you have Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. Those are the biggest teams in that group. Same thing for Group B. I think Ghana or thereabouts is in Group B. Those groups are very, very straightforward. But the Group B, where you have South Africa, Mali, and one other team, I think that is the group that is the toughest because in that group, the misstep for many of those big teams might cost them dearly in this tournament. And looking at the fact that 2 teams from each group will qualify for the round of 16 with 4 third best teams in the tournament. So it tells you how very, very tricky it can be. So like I said, for me, for Group E, I think Group E is more or less the group of death. Every other group is straightforward. The big names most likely would qualify. Of course, like I said, the third best teams will join them in the round of 16.
Okay. So let's not talk more about the groups. Let's just go straight to the Super Eagles of Nigeria proper now. What do you think is the main problem? Is it the goalkeeper, the midfield, the defense, the coach? What exactly is the problem? Robbie, back to you. This is why you say you're not even rooting for the Super Eagles at all.
No, that is just one thing that makes this question very interesting. Why is it interesting? Because I think the guys who have picked the Super Eagles as the team they think will win the AFCON should actually answer this question first, because there has to be a reason other than I am being patriotic. There has to be a reason beyond, okay, I'm trying to be a very good Nigerian, hence the reason why I said the Super Eagles would win. I did not pick the Super Eagles, and if you ask me to pick 2 other teams that will win the AFCON, that most likely win the AFCON, I still will not pick the Super Eagles as part of the top 4 teams that will win.
Like no, I asked rooting. You said you're not rooting for them, not like they have more chance.
That's why I said that. For the guys who picked the Super Eagles, they should more or less go first on this question because they are the one that picked the Super Eagles. So they should actually tell you
the team. Because now so many things are wrong with that Super Eagles team. So the main issue we're talking about is the goalkeeper, the coach, midfield, the defense. What exactly is wrong? Because they have the squad, but they are not producing results. You know.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, you cannot pinpoint the problem of the team to just one factor, because it goes beyond the coach, it goes beyond just the goalkeeper, the defense, the midfield, or the attack. Nigeria is blessed with an array of stars when it comes to attack. And unfortunately, only God just knows the reason why everything is happening at this point in time for the Super Eagles. 3 players, particularly in the attack, have been changed. Victor Boniface will not be playing this tournament. Sadiq Umar too will not be playing this tournament. Sadiq Umar was replaced yesterday/this morning by Paul Onuachu. So that more or less changes the tactics going into this tournament. For the midfield, you have Wilfred Ndidi, who is not also available due to injury. And like I said, it just tells you the problem or the scale of the problem. Sorry. It tells you the scale of the problem going into this tournament, because for the squad that was released by the NFF/the Super Eagles coach, we have just 5 midfielders going to this tournament. I checked the list for Ghana. I checked the list for Egypt. I checked that of Senegal. I checked that of Egypt. They have at least 6, 7, and 8 midfielders in that particular order coming into a major tournament like this, whereas Nigeria just has 5. And you're asking, in the case of suspension, in the case of an injury, how do you manage 5 midfielders in the course of a whole tournament? Which should not be so. In most cases, or in a typical setup, you have, give or take, about 4 or 5 attackers, and you have about 8, 9 midfielders in a typical setup. But, well, for the NFF and for the coach, they understand the reasons why they are coming with this thing. Nigeria's Achilles heel going into this tournament is majorly in defense and in midfield. Defense inclusive of the goalkeeper, because these are not the best goalkeepers Nigeria can parade. And I can tell you for a fact that when this list was released, there was serious debate in the country amongst the media community as regards the inclusion of these goalkeepers who finally made the cut. Nwabali has never played for the Super Eagles. He will be making his debut should he be in between the sticks for the Super Eagles. That is on Sunday. So he plies his trade in South Africa. Like I said, he has never played for the Super Eagles. So this is his first major tournament. Ojo Olorunleke is a name that is known in the country because he plays in the NPFL for Enyimba. But the issue as regards his inclusion has been subject to a lot of scrutiny because of his performances for the team. And it turns out that he's not even like the number one for Enyimba as it is. Also, going at Francis Uzoho, I personally researched Francis Uzoho after his name was included in the final list. And I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that Francis Uzoho so far this season, I'm using the context, this season in the league where he plays, which is in Cyprus, has played 4.5 games for his team. 4.5. The half there being that, now you are putting your hand on your face, right? The half there being that he came on as a second half substitute.
We know that this is a big problem, okay?
Okay, so I am telling you the scale of the problem. So the half there, meaning that he came on as a second half substitute in a game that was played by his club, and he ended up conceding 2 goals in that particular game. And in the remaining 4 games that he played, I think his team won 2 games and they lost 2 games. And he considered in those games, I think he kept just 1 clean sheet or thereabouts. But it tells you that for a goalkeeper who has played just 4.5 games in a season, that is a problem. And we all have seen the scale that for teams that can shoot, and I tell you teams that I can shoot, I am putting teams like Ivory Coast in the mix because Ivory Coast have a lot of midfielders who are good from long range shots. That is one of Francis Uzoho's Achilles heel. The goal he considered against Zimbabwe was a long range free kick that he could not do anything about. So for teams like Ivory Coast, they have a lot of players, they have a lot of midfielders who can shoot. A lot of them who can shoot. Same thing for Guinea-Bissau. They have a lot of midfielders, a lot of attackers who can shoot. And if they can read in between the lines and Francis Uzoho is the one in goal, they should start rejoicing because this is somebody who is very, very afraid of long-range strikes. Now, coming to the midfield, for somebody like, coming to the attack, to the defense, somebody like Calvin Phillips is sometimes has been caught, can be termed as a rash defender. What it means is that sometimes he does not know how to time his tackles. He can make some very rash tackles in very dangerous parts of the field. Same thing goes for Shimi Ajayi, who also made the team. He can be caught ball watching. For Trust Ekong, he doesn't have the legs like that. So when he comes against fast attackers, fast wingers, fast midfielders, it could be a problem. Will Omeru play? I don't know. Ojo Aina and Osai Samuel, they are very good defenders, but also you want a team where the defense can play as a unit. And if they cannot play as a unit, the opposition will pick them out one by one. For the midfield, who knows what the coach has in mind as regards the players he's going to play. So I think overall, the coach will have to find a winning formula for this team. And of course, the players will have to rise to the occasion. The likes of Kenneth Omeru and Ahmed Musa, these are players who won the title the last time Nigeria won it in 2013, are still a part of this team. Well, for some school of thought says that their inclusion has been to more or less like be a morale booster for the team to make them understand the magnitude of the assignment on their hands. But if you ask me, I'll say it is still not enough because you might have experience, but when experience is not on the field with you, you will need talent. And that is just where someone like Victor Osimhen comes in. And some people said that Victor Osimhen is arguably the only person in the team that has taken this, the African Cup of Nations seriously. So I think whatever speculations, postulations, predictions, and so on that we have, they might all have to wait until Sunday when the Super Eagles take to the field against Equatorial Guinea. So from there, we can begin to dissect and ask, okay, where did you get it wrong? Where did you get it right? Do we stand a chance or not? But I think before then, everything we're talking about is just purely academic or more or less in theory. So that is just my thought as regards the Super Eagles.
Okay. So, Uzi Smart, what do you think is the main problem?
Okay. First of all, Ogarobi, it's not like our rooting for the Super Eagles is that we are telling you that the Super Eagles have greater chances of winning. No, it is just that we are rooting for the Super Eagles because that is what we should do. A Chelsea fan will always come out and root for Chelsea while knowing that they will lose. So that is it. So that being said, so coming to the question as what the premise with the Super Eagles. I think first of all, just as I mentioned earlier on, we start from the coach. Then I think I will also mention the scouting team. Why I mentioned the scouting team is it seems for the few years I've lived on Earth, I've noticed that the Super Eagles scouting team, what they just do is they sit back and say, okay, the so star, this person is playing for so club. Wow, he's making waves now. Okay, let's call him. And that's it. I see people like Southgate sometimes go to watch matches in England, watch all the boys
Mm-hmm.
locally and see what they are doing. And from there, they can be able to scout very well boys that play together day in, day out, boys that play against each other day in, day out, that know their weaknesses, that know their strong points and all that. Before they start inviting those playing in other countries. And even when they want to invite those ones, they still go out and watch matches. You see Southgate go to Spain to watch Jude Bellingham. And tomorrow, when he includes Jude Bellingham, he knows exactly how to play Jude Bellingham because he's not watching Bellingham on the television. But the question is, in Nigeria, does the scouting team do something like that? I don't think. I've not seen a Nigerian NPFL game where I see the coach or a scouting team from the Super Eagles come to sit and watch the boys locally. I know if they do that, we would have had more boys from the local scene playing in the Super Eagles that would even do better than some of those guys in the Super Eagles. Then, having talked about the scouting team, I mentioned the coach too. Mr. Rob mentioned uh, the midfield, for instance. How many players are in the midfield? It doesn't make sense at all. For me, I always say the midfield holds the football game, not the defense, not the attack. Because it is the midfield that connects the defense to the attack. If the midfield is broken down in any team, the whatever the attack is doing will not be producing much result. And the defense, on the other hand, will not be that connectivity will not be there. So most times you see teams that do well, you look at their midfield and they are doing very well. Just a few days ago, Kevin De Bruyne came back to Man City team and from injury, and everybody is shouting that EPL teams are afraid. Why? He is a midfielder. But basically, he's the one that does the work connecting what the defense is doing with the attack, and that's why he produced a lot of assists and all that. So, what is our coach doing in the midfield, bringing only 5 midfielders into a tournament like this? And then the 5 midfielders, how much do they work in cohesion with themselves? Yes, because it is not just about feeding midfielders, but how do they play? I've always, when I watch Nigerian team, I see that the midfield they do not play together. You see the Ndidi, in Leicester City that you are not seeing the same Ndidi in the Nigerian team. Why? Because the people surrounding him are not really producing the same thing. The energy does not match. So the midfield, and when I say the midfield, I keep stressing it is the ball comes back to the coach because it is the coach that should be seeing these things we are seeing as football fans. So for me, basically, I will always mention the scouting team and the coach as our problem. I don't want to see what Uzoho is doing in the post because on a normal day, Uzoho shouldn't be there. But it is still the coach that should put who will be there. It is the scouting team that should give him someone that will be there in between the sticks. I don't know how someone that have just played 4 games in a season will be there in between the sticks. And there are players that have done almost 20 matches in different competitions in Nigeria, and they are doing well. So
Mm.
if you look at teams that we take seriously, if you look at teams that we take seriously in AFCON, you see that there is a blend of players playing on foreign ground and those playing locally. And that is the work of the scouting team. So till that correction is made, I don't think we are basically going to do anything serious. That does not stop me from rooting for Nigeria, though. If I go that day, I will shout as though Nigeria. I'll shout on top of my voice as though Nigeria will win the game. And when they do not win, I'll come back I'll take paracetamol to ease my headache and look for amlodipine to make sure that my BP is doing well.
Let me laugh at Uzi's man. I hope you bought your pack of paracetamol and kept it because you will definitely make use of them. Okay. Dochi, I'm going to come to you now. What do you think is the problem? Uzi and Robbie have said what they felt was the problem. From your
Yeah,
end, what
yeah.
is it?
I'll be going by what Uzi said. You know, when we talk about the Super Eagles like doing well at the tournament, we are not saying that probably they've got everything that it's needed for them to do well. I mean, we are more like sounding more like patriotic, if I should use that word.
Hmm.
Okay, but let's now look at the problem that we have. Like, to be frank with you, it's a big challenge because going by the previous um squad that we have in the Super Eagles, it has always been like a mix of home base and a
Mm-hmm.
mix of foreign base before now. But looking at this current squad, I think it's just one player that is from the home base team. Just one out of the whole squad. I think one of the goalkeepers. Yeah, he's the only guy that is coming from the home base, which is an error in the sense that I don't know why it's like that. To be frank with you, I don't know who to blame, or maybe if I should blame anybody at all, it should be just like he said, the scouting squad. I mean, you can't tell me that a league as the Nigerian league cannot produce like good, like about up to 4 players from the team to join. And there's something that's always come with mixing your team with both foreign and home based players. For example, now when the home based players are playing, they play with a different level of energy. Like those
Yeah.
guys are very angry. Like they want people to see them. They want to impress. Compared to those guys that are doing well already. I mean, someone
Big
like
boys.
hello.
No, I said the big boys.
Yeah, the big boys. I mean, those
Mhm.
guys, if I should put it the other way, they actually don't have so much to lose, you see. And some of them are playing, having in mind, I mean, we are still at the mid of the season. We still have February. We are still going back to continue with our club games and stuff like that. So it's a kind of lack of like energy within the team amongst the players. You see, so that is actually the problem of the Super Eagles, basically. For example, let me start again from the goalkeeping. I mean, the previous speaker he's made all the analysis that is needed there for them. I didn't even know that Uzo has played just 4 matches in a whole season. Come
Four and
on.
a half. Robbie said it's 4.5. Please add the
No,
half.
absolutely. That's is not acceptable. It's not acceptable that we are having a guy that have played just 4 matches in a season to represent
Come
us.
on. Why are you people giving up on Uzo? Uzo will shock all of you in this tournament too. Don't
I pray
worry.
he does.
Watch
I pray
out.
he does. But I pray he does. I pray he does shock us anyway. But I mean, you can't just performances don't just come like overnight. You have to be top of your game. Like on a steady for you to give out such a performance in an AFCON. Like I mean, we are talking of African Cup of Nations. Like look at other teams. Like these guys have got a lot. You see, but in the case of the Super Eagles, I mean, we have like players that we can't even use in the team. Like I can name a group of like I don't want to call so much names so that it doesn't sound somehow, but there are players that I'm very sure that we are likely not gonna use these guys. But we still invited them. I mean, we are not doing anything with them. They can give us the morale from home. They can come at interval at the camp and motivate us. But
Don't worry.
if
We know their names. You don't need to call them.
I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm not gonna invite someone that I'm not gonna use. This is what happens. This is what happens. And that space, I believe that there are some other people that are capable, like people that are willing enough to fill in those gaps. You see, but like I said, when we are supporting Super Eagles, we are not saying that they've got everything that is needed for them to win the tournament, rather. But we are just like believing in them and being patriotic, okay? That they would shock us.
Okay. Oh.
In a
Okay, before I
positive way,
ask my
rather, yeah.
okay, before I ask my next question, Robbie, someone was asking me why was Gift Urban not invited, you know, and that guy is actually good, oh.
Yeah, it's been
So
good.
many people were wondering why was he not invited, you know. So I don't know. Use your
Stop trying
laugh.
to set me up. I am not the media officer for the Super Eagles, and I am not the
You are
spokesperson
close to
for
them
the.
now, so answer out.
Well, why was Gift Obano invited? I have no idea whatsoever. But I believe that those who sat to pick the names, and as well as with the consent of the coach, they believe that this present crop of players will be able to do the job for the country. The criteria used, according to the coach, I think he understands the reason for why he picked these players. And like I said, the one show is not just going to more or less dissect the issues rocking Nigerian sports, rocking Nigerian football at the moment. Because another thing you get to look at is just check out the quality of the clubs that Nigerian players play for in Europe. That is one. Ask yourself how many of the Nigerian players in the squad are regular players for their team. And I can tell you that you will not even be able to pick up to 8 players out of 25. You'll be able to pick 8 out of 25 who are regulars. They make the first 11. They play week in, week out. Somebody start from the bench is not irregular. So you have to more or less look at somebody who, when the team sheet comes out, you're talking about the likes of Victor Sime, Olaino, Zaidu Sanusi, and probably Bright Osai Samuel, and who else again are you looking at? Maybe Omeru. Last time he played for a Spanish club, he is a regular thereabout. So all these things, all these factors actually come to affect the national team on the long run, because somebody who doesn't play regularly for his club but is good enough to start for Nigeria, there is a problem there. And you can attest to the fact that when you look at other countries abroad, look at the likes of Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, these are starters for their club, these are goal scorers for their club. You're looking at the likes of Pickford. Yes, Everton is not the biggest team in England, but Pickford plays week in, week out for Everton. And you look at other players as well. And you tell me, when England comes up against all these other nations in Europe, you look at, except they're having a bad day, but you look at the quality of their football. Bukayo Saka plays regularly for Arsenal. He's a starter for England, and so on and so forth. So I think for the reason why Gift Obama was not invited, I don't know. But like I said, the coach and the NFF understand the reason behind those who are invited, and they feel that those who are called to camp are more or less man enough to do the job for Nigeria. How far can they go? Like I said, we all will have to be patient till Sunday, just 2 days away from now, to find out if they are capable. And I think that it is after the tournament we all can begin to dive into the question of why was this player not invited, why was this player not invited, and so forth and so on. So, but for now, we all will just have to make do with the names released and the players who are set to represent Nigeria on Sunday.
Okay. So our time is almost up. I just need one answer for these questions. So where do you think the Super Eagles of Nigeria will finish in this tournament? Robbie.
I don't know if I should sound patriotic right now, or I should more or less just go with my own patriotic self. I think the Super Eagles will make it to the round of 16. That is just my own prediction.
Okay, round of 16. Uzi, where do you think they'll finish?
If they manage to wriggle out of the group stage, we know how the Super Eagles does their thing. They just manage to wobble and fumble, and in AFCON, they'll try and make their way to semi-final. That's how they do it. So I believe they'll still do it again.
Okay, semi-final. Tochi, where do you think they'll finish?
Definitely will get to the semi-finals.
Okay, so
definitely.
good.
I'm very sure. I'm very sure.
Okay,
I'm very,
let's
very
see.
sure that
Why are you
get
laughing
to the
now?
semi-finals.
So I didn't wait to. Last time I didn't get to semi-finals. So in case you forgot to, last time I
Sorry?
didn't get semi-finals. I said last time I didn't get to the semi-finals. In case you forgot, they crashed out of the round of 16.
I mean, we qualified with one match remaining. Come on, guys, let's be patriotic.
Okay. So the last question before we go. On Sunday, Nigerians' first match, Equatorial Guinea versus Super Eagles of Nigeria. Predictions for that game. Robbie, what's your prediction?
I'll go with I'll go with Equatorial Guinea 1, Nigeria 1.
Ha! You want them to
Oh,
serve us draw
no.
soup on Sunday. Okay.
No way.
Uzi, what's prediction? Equatorial Guinea, Nigeria.
I'm predicting Nigeria 1, Nigeria 2 rather, then Equatorial Guinea 1, because we have somebody in between the sticks that must concede at least a goal. So we should be expecting to ship it at least 1 goal against Nigeria.
Okay.
Oh,
Tochi, your prediction.
It's Nigeria to win 2-0.
Okay. Like you said, let me be patriotic. Nigeria
I'm
to
very
win.
serious
Yeah.
about it.
You must
Nigeria to
have
win
serious
2-0.
guts to believe that Nigeria will not concede. It takes a lot of guts, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Good luck to Nigeria. Oh. I pray they reach the final and they bring that trophy. So good
Man.
luck. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.